A man died of exposure in country I have walked, 3 miles from a road, with a full pack and a knife on his belt. He did not die because he lacked gear. He died because he spent his last useful hours doing something a television program told him to do, and by the time he understood it was wrong, he no longer had the strength to fix it. My name is Thomas Yazzie. I grew up Dene in the high desert of the Southwest, and most of what I know about staying alive outdoors came from people who treated it as ordinary skill rather than emergency preparation. Today I am giving you 10 pieces of survival advice that are wrong, that circulate widely, and that get people hurt every year. Number 1 is the one almost everybody believes, and it kills more people than any other item on this list. Number 10, moss grows on the north side of trees. This is the oldest one and the most harmless, right up until somebody actually navigates by it. Moss grows where conditions favor it, which means shade and moisture. On any given tree that might be the north side, or it might be the side facing a creek, a shaded slope, a rock face, or another tree. In dense forest, it grows on every side. On an isolated tree in open country, it may grow nowhere at all. I have stood in stands where the moss ran heaviest on the south side because the terrain shaded it that direction. What to do instead? Learn the sun. It rises roughly east, sets roughly west, and sits due south at midday in the northern hemisphere. Shadows point roughly north at noon. That is not perfect either, but it is far better than moss, and it works everywhere. Number 9, follow water downstream to civilization. This one sounds reasonable and has a real logic behind it, since people do settle along water. In gentle terrain, following a drainage down often works. In steep country, it can kill you. Drainages in mountainous terrain funnel into canyons, and canyons develop cliffs, waterfalls, and stretches with no bank to walk on. People follow a creek into terrain they cannot climb back out of, and then they are stuck somewhere with a hard descent behind them and worse ahead. There is a second problem. Drainages are the low ground, and cold air pools in low ground overnight, so you are also picking the coldest and dampest place to be. What to do instead? If you have any signal or any prospect of being searched for, staying put is nearly always better than moving, because search efforts work from a last known point. If you must travel toward high open ground where you can see and be seen, not down into terrain that closes in around you. Number 8, eat snow when you have no water. Understandable instinct, and a genuinely dangerous one in cold conditions. Snow is mostly air. A large mouthful yields very little water, and to get that water your body has to melt it, which costs heat you cannot spare. Somebody already cold and already dehydrated eating snow accelerates toward hypothermia while barely addressing their thirst. What to do instead? Melt it first, in a container by a fire if you have one, or in a bottle held inside your coat against your body if you do not. That last method is slow, and it works. Start with a little liquid water in the container if you can, since snow melts far faster with water already present. Number 7, alcohol warms you up. The flask in the cold weather story is one of the most persistent images in outdoor lore, and it is exactly backward. Alcohol dilates the blood vessels near your skin. That sends warm blood to the surface, which produces a genuine sensation of warmth, and that warm blood then radiates its heat straight into the air. Your core temperature drops faster than it would have. It also impairs judgment and shivering response, which are the two things you most need working. What to do instead? Something warm and non-alcoholic if you have it, and calories if you have them, since your body produces heat by burning fuel, and it cannot do that on an empty tank. That kind of knowledge is exactly what never got written down where I come from, which is most of the reason I finally put together Walk Easy. Every method laid out with the reasoning underneath it, the same way it was handed to me. It's a small one-time amount, less than a decent tarp, and it replaces a pack full of gear you'd otherwise buy. First link in the description and pinned at the top of the comments. Number 6. Cut and suck the venom from a snakebite. This one has been thoroughly discredited by medical authorities, and it persists anyway, largely because of old films. Cutting the wound damages tissue and introduces infection. Suction removes a negligible amount of venom, and the commercial suction devices sold for this have been tested and found not to work. Both approaches waste the only thing that matters, which is time. Tourniquets are equally bad here, because concentrating venom in a limb can cost the limb. What to do instead? Get to medical care, keep the person calm and still, keep the bitten limb at roughly heart level, remove rings and watches before swelling starts, and note the time. Antivenom is the treatment, and nothing you do in the field replaces it. Number 5. Rub frostbite to warm it up. This comes from a good instinct, and it does real damage. Frozen tissue contains ice crystals. Rubbing it, and especially rubbing it with snow, drives those crystals through cell walls and destroys tissue that might otherwise have been saved. People have lost fingers to the rubbing rather than to the freezing. What to do instead? Rewarm gradually with body heat, hands under armpits, or in water that is warm rather than hot, around body temperature. And here is the part most people do not know. Do not rewarm a frozen foot if the person still has to walk out. Tissue that thaws and refreezes suffers far worse damage than tissue that stays frozen, so walking on a frozen foot to safety and thawing there is genuinely the better choice. Number 5.5, and I am putting it here because it belongs beside the alcohol one. Drink your own urine if you run out of water. This circulates constantly, and it makes a bad situation worse. Urine carries the salts and waste products your kidneys just work to remove, and putting them back in means your body has to process them again using water you do not have. Every medical authority that has looked at this says the same thing. It accelerates dehydration rather than delaying it. What to do instead? Find water and treat it, since almost any water source is better than none once boiled or filtered. Dig for seepage in a dry creek bed. Collect dew off vegetation at dawn with a cloth. All of those yield real water. None of them cost you what urine does. Number 4. Play dead if a bear attacks. Dangerously incomplete rather than simply wrong, and the incompleteness is what gets people hurt. Playing dead is correct advice for a defensive attack by a grizzly, meaning a bear that was surprised, or a sow protecting cubs. That bear wants you to stop being a threat and will usually leave once you are not. It is the wrong response to a predatory attack, meaning a bear that is stalking you and treats you as food. Playing dead in that situation means allowing yourself to be eaten. Predatory attacks are more commonly associated with black bears, particularly in remote northern country. What to do instead? Learn the distinction. Defensive grizzly encounter. Protect your neck and play dead. Any bear that follows you, approaches with focus, or enters your tent, fight back with everything available, targeting the face and nose. And carry bear spray, which the research shows stops aggressive bear behavior more reliably than firearms do. Number 3, if animals eat it, it is safe for you. This one has killed people, and it sounds like common sense, which is what makes it dangerous. Many animals eat plants that are toxic to humans. Birds consume berries that will make a person seriously ill. Deer eat vegetation people cannot process. Different species have different tolerances, and observing an animal eat something tells you nothing about your own body. The universal edibility tests that circulate are also slower and less reliable than most people assume, and a serious mistake with certain mushrooms will not show symptoms until organ damage is already underway. What to do instead? Only eat what you can positively identify and learn a small number of plants thoroughly rather than a long list vaguely. Remember also that you have weeks before starvation becomes the threat, so foraging unknown plants is rarely worth the risk in a short-term situation. Number 2, find food first. This is the priority error, and it is behind more bad outcomes than any single technique on this list. The rule of threes is rough but useful. Roughly 3 minutes without air. Roughly 3 hours without shelter in harsh conditions. Roughly 3 days without water. Roughly 3 weeks without food. Look at the order. Food is last by a wide margin, and yet it is what people fixate on, because hunger is loud and immediate while heat loss is quiet. Somebody spending their remaining daylight setting snares instead of building shelter has inverted their own priorities, and cold does not wait for the trap to work. What to do instead? Shelter, then water, then food, in that order, and build the shelter before dark rather than after. And number 1, the one that kills the most people. Push on and find your way out. When someone realizes they are lost, the near universal instinct is to keep moving. It feels productive. Stopping feels like giving up. That instinct is why search and rescue operations frequently cover enormous areas. A person walking for 6 hours can be miles from where anyone expects them, and they are usually walking without a clear direction, sometimes in circles, burning calories and body heat and daylight they will need. The people who are found quickly are usually the ones who stopped early. What to do instead? The moment you realize you are lost, stop, sit down. Do not take another step for at least 10 minutes. That pause does something specific. Fear narrows thinking, and 10 minutes of sitting lets your heart rate settle enough to actually assess your situation. Then take stock of what you have, what the weather is doing, and how much daylight is left. Then stay if there is any chance somebody is looking. Make yourself visible and findable. Build shelter. Make noise at intervals. 3 of anything, 3 whistle blasts, 3 fires, 3 shouts is a recognized distress signal. The single most useful thing you can do before you ever go out is tell someone where you are going and when you will be back. That one conversation is what turns a search into a targeted effort instead of a guess. Now, a few things that tie all 10 together. Notice how many of these myths share a shape. They all give a frightened person something active to do. Cut the wound, rub the frostbite, walk downstream, set a snare, keep moving. Panic wants action, and bad advice survives because it offers action. The correct response in most of these situations is calmer and slower, and calm is a harder thing to sell. Notice also that several of these came from film and television rather than from anyone who lived outdoors. Sucking venom, rubbing frostbite with snow, the flask in the cold. These are cinematic images, and they entered common knowledge without ever passing through anyone with experience. The old ones did not have survival techniques in the way the word gets used now. They had ordinary competence built over a lifetime, learned in good weather from someone who already knew, which is the only reason it was available when conditions turned. That is the real lesson underneath all 10. You do not rise to the occasion in an emergency. You fall back on what you actually practiced, and if you have never built a shelter in daylight, with nothing at stake, you will not build a good one at dusk when it matters. So go do it once this year. Build a debris hut on a Saturday, melt snow in a bottle against your body, and time how long it takes. Sit down in the woods for 10 minutes without moving, and notice how strongly your body wants to get up and walk. That last one sounds like nothing, and it is the hardest habit on this list. Tell me down in the comments which of these 10 you believed, because I believed at least 2 of them well into my adult life, and I would rather we all say so out loud than pretend otherwise. And if there is a piece of outdoor advice you were given that turned out to be wrong, put it down there too, because somebody else is still carrying it. I read every one of them. Walk easy out there, and I will see you at the next fire.